Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're tackling something pretty universal, something everyone's felt at some point. Fear. You know, those anxieties that can really hold us back.
And what's interesting is we've been looking at how confronting those very fears, the stuff that makes us anxious, that's often the key to unlocking some serious personal growth.
It's like the scarier the thing we avoid, the more it might actually be the thing that helps us grow, right?
Yeah.
At least that's what some folks are saying.
Yeah, and it's kind of counterintuitive. Our instinct is to run from what scares us, but maybe, just maybe, there's something to this whole leaning into the discomfort idea.
And you had some really fascinating strategies in your notes for how to actually practically do that. Like, how do we go from, scary to bring it on?
It's not so much about becoming completely fearless, because let's be real, that's not really possible for most of us.
Right, not going to wake up tomorrow suddenly loving spiders if they freak you out.
Exactly. It's more about getting those tools, those mental strategies to navigate the fear. And one of the most powerful ones is this idea of gradual exposure.
Okay, so break that down for us. What does gradual exposure actually mean when we're talking about, like, facing down a fear?
So instead of jumping right into the deep end, you start small. Think baby steps. You gradually expose yourself to the thing you're afraid of, but at a pace that feels manageable.
So, like, using the example you mentioned, public speaking, you'd said that's something that used to make you anxious.
Big time. But instead of going from zero to TED Talk, someone with that fear might try, I don't know, sharing an idea in a team meeting at work, or even just with a few close friends first.
It's like dipping your toes in the water before you cannonball into the pool.
Exactly. Each time you do it, no matter how small the step, it chips away at the hole that fear has on you.
So instead of the fear getting smaller, it's more like we get bigger than it.
That's a great way to put it. You build up that courage muscle over time.
Okay, that's gradual exposure. But then you also mentioned something really interesting about how before we even start with the exposure, we got to tackle this other thing, something about what's going on in our heads.
Ah, you mean the negative self-talk.
Yes. Tell me more about that because it seems like that can be a huge part of what keeps us stuck.
Totally. Because a lot of times our anxieties, they come from these limiting beliefs we have about ourselves.
Yeah.
Things like, I'm not good enough to do that, or I'm going to mess this up.
Ugh, yeah. Everyone's gonna judge me. Been there.
But here's the thing. Those are just thoughts, not facts.
Yeah.
Challenging them, questioning where they come from, that's powerful stuff.
So it's like, don't just let those thoughts run wild in your head like some out-of-control hamster wheel. Actually stop and examine them.
You got it. And sometimes just realizing that those thoughts aren't objective truth, that can be enough to take away some of their power.
Totally. Oh, and there's another thing that can really help in this whole process, and you touched on it briefly, having a support system. It's easy to feel alone when you're battling these fears and anxieties.
100%. Having someone to talk to, whether it's a therapist, a friend, a family member, someone who gets it, it can make a world of difference.
Even just knowing you're not the only one going through this stuff can be huge.
Absolutely. And often, those folks can offer a different perspective, some encouragement when you need it most. Facing fears is a journey, not a solo mission.
This whole conversation has been so insightful. It's like knowing that there are actual strategies, tools we can use to face our fears instead of letting them control us, that's empowering.
And if you zoom out, this journey, it's not just about like conquering stage fright or whatever your specific fear is. It's about something bigger. It's about building resilience, about self-awareness, and ultimately about living a life that aligns with who we truly are, even when it's hard.
It makes you wonder, what if the things we fear the most are actually the keys to unlocking the most growth, to discovering who we're meant to be? What if those scary things are actually the most important ones to run towards?